Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are back, and today I will be talking about AI for model governance. Specifically, when I mean what I mean by AI for model governance is very simple: building an AI system to govern the morale of your citizens. There are good sides and the bad sides to model governance when it comes to citizens. We will not go into the ethical issues that relates to it because, as I said, there are things that works well when it comes to moral governance. There are things that may not work well. It is also not a one-fit-all solution. So we are not going to cover that aspect, at least today. What we will cover is three things. We'll cover about what is moral governance. Secondly, we'll cover about can AI help to build a nationwide moral governance structure or a platform? And three, what will be those building blocks of an AI for a nationwide moral governance system? Okay, let's dig into this. So, to specify a little bit more, what we're talking about is this whole idea of building a minimal moral standard within a society, whether your society is composed of everyone in this nation. That's what we mean by a moral governance platform. It includes what your credit rating is, or do you pay your bills regularly? It includes how do you shop, how are your spending habits. It's not just about the credit rating system. A credit rating system is there in a lot of countries, but that's a small piece of it, and that to some extent does tells us about the morale or the moral of an individual or a society or a state or a full nation state. It includes much more. How are your habits? Do you sleep well, or how what is the education level? Were you caught stealing? Were you caught going out of the line? All these are to some extent moral questions, and that's what the moral governance is. Now, the question becomes, can you do something like that at a global scale where you have something that the whole population in a nation can use? And that's where AI comes into picture. Here we're talking about anywhere from a few million people, if you're talking about small nations, to billions of people, if you're talking about some of the biggest nations with the population. Can AI help? And the answer is yes, because what we are talking about is lots and lots of data, lots and lots of individual points. And at the same time, we want to make sure that the privacy of individuals is conforms to the various privacy and cybersecurity considerations. And artificial intelligence is great in coming up with thesis based on various machine learning techniques or even rule-based techniques. And lastly, it is easy to build an AI system that can both be specific and work for an individual, as well as could be broad enough where you could come up with some kind of score where the morale of a citizen is a bit low, or where the morale of a population is high, and really try to, based on that, really try to do something proactive. And that's where the governance part comes into picture. That's also the importance. Now, this may or may not work for every kind of society, but at least in some societies, this may be something useful thing to do. Now, what could be the building blocks to it, and what could that system look like? A good example that already exists today is the social credit system in China. And it didn't come easy, and it was a very calculated decision by uh, Chinese President Xi, where they did see that the moral of a citizen was at an all-time low, about 5 to 6 years, and that's where they decided that they need to have some sort of a system to ensure that there is minimum moral standard for the society, and that happened in 2015. And it started with it was a nationwide effort to really regulate the behavior of citizens and enhancing their moral integrity. And President Xi actually gave the task to everyone under him in 2017, and the output of that was the social credit system. The social credit system, to some extent, as we see it, was related to your financial system or your financial credit. So if your habits of paying your credit card have not been good, that will affect your credit history, and that will affect the perks that you will get in the future. But the basis of this was much broader, which is how can you really work on getting the morale of a huge set of people in the right direction. So it works. And as it has seen that AI-based system could definitely help when it even comes to 1 billion people. Some of the building blocks that becomes very important in systems like these is it needs to be in near real time, in the sense that these things change. You want to be aggregating data, and as much as possible not to be storing individual events, because if you're talking about a billion and a half people, storing what they do, when they do, from their credit rating to the transaction that they made, where they go, and all that is pretty damn hard, even if it is possible. That's where it becomes really important that the AI system is much more real time. It's aggregating the data and coming to a conclusion in real time, and then updating a profile of those individuals in a periodic basis, as opposed to storing all the data. The second most important thing is privacy. You want to make sure that besides the credit score or the social credit score or the moral score for an individual, nothing else is available to the end consumers of this moral system. And even the score, who do you want the score to be available to? Should it just be the government who should have the score? Should you be giving this to the banks? Should you be giving that to your employers? Those are all valid questions, and today at least we won't be covering that aspect to it. And the last part is cybersecurity. The kind of the transactions we're talking about relates to the location of people, what they have been doing, where they went, how did they transact it, how much do they transact it. All these things are very important. And in most countries, actually I would say in developed majority of developed nation at least, and a big chunk of developing countries, including India and China, privacy and how this PII gets shared is very important. So a foolproof system that can ensure that the data remains private, It cannot be hacked, and to some extent, it should not even be used by government agencies for individual surveillance. So there's a difference in the data itself that is used to come up with that moral score and giving access to the moral score. Because the whole idea of the moral score is that if that moral score is available to a good chunk of people and individual lives can be affected, that's what drives people to go in the right direction. And with that, I will close down today's AI Tech Talk Live. As a reminder, we are part of Skive and Robometrics Machine. Every week around this time, we cover areas around artificial intelligence, either on the technology side or on the policy side or on the business side of things. Please keep your questions coming, and based on that, we could cover this topic again more, or we could come to any topic. Till then, have a great Friday the 13th. Bye.